Hey, Gimp, what you doing? Trying to figure out a top 10 list, Grumps. Why? Because that's what everybody does. They do a top 10 list. What's the problem? Well, I'm running out of things to do a top 10 list on. So far, I got top 10 Beaver games that end with the letter Z, but I heard the Chit Holders doing that next week on their show. And then I got the top 10 reasons to hate board games, but the living Norwegians do that in a couple weeks. He's such a puppy. He thinks he's awesome. I was thinking about maybe doing the top 10 hottest games on the BGG hotness list that hasn't even been thought of yet. But I heard that Listen to It Done over there is doing it. Franz Parter's supposed to do a specific one on this one. Love you, Franz. My final thought was the top 10 non-destructive, non-harmful, non-argumentative two-player games that involve sleeping beagles. But I heard Ricardo Runs Under is doing that in a couple of weeks. I'm out of ideas. Yeah. Well, Gip, you could always try to shill for the Board Game Geek Store. You know, you did play 10 games. Yeah, it's got a point. So, today in store, I'm shilling out the BGG Store. This is the top 10 games that I have played in the BGG Store. Okay, so we're going to put Grumps away. I hope you enjoyed that little skit. I only make fun at the hobby. I love it. And, the media creators in there. Alright, so a couple honorable mentions before we get going. Let's start with this one, 10 Nights. 10 Nights is a party game. It's a social deduction game. It's a very simplistic social deduction game where you are these people who got held up in a snowstorm. You go to this I can't remember, it's a cabin or an inn, I can't remember what they call it, and you're playing as one of 10 characters. You're trying to figure out who murdered somebody in the cabin one night. You got 10 nights to do this. Each night lasts a minute. All right. The reason I haven't did a video on this one is because I just haven't gotten to the table. I got it to the table once. I just haven't been able to get the player count for this one to the table. But the one game I did play, I enjoyed it. Like I said, it was very simplistic, very bare bones trader game. So I like I said, I only played it once. I can't really comment on it, so I'm not really going to say whether I like it or not. It's just, it's a trader game. It only lasts 10 minutes. There's even an app for a timer. One player gets 15 seconds to do something. The other players get 45 seconds to talk about it. You got to do process elimination, see who is the killer before they kill everybody, basically. So that was one runner-up. Next runner-up here is Yakutubani. Yakutubani is low in stock. It's one of the reasons I didn't do a video on this. I intended to when I start this 6 months ago, 8 months ago, 9 months ago. When I originally started this is one of the games I grabbed. Since then, it's got low on stock. ZR Garcia did a review on this if you're interested in it. But basically, it's a semi-co-op game, sort of, where you're trying to put off a fireworks display on these Yakutabunis, which dictate which actions the cards you draw do. All right, so you're working together with your opponent opposite you, trying to build the biggest and best fireworks display, and it's a really interesting concept, which I still don't have my head completely around. It's a little anti-intuitive to play, anti-intuitive? Not intuitive at first, and I still don't have my head wrapped around it. There's one of them that I was going to get to This is going to be one of the last ones I filmed, so I actually really understood it. But like I said, we got low in stock. There's still some. I was just on the BGG Store today, January 20th, I think. And they did have 5 or 6, something like that, in there in the store. If you want it, check it out. It's a pretty interesting game. My next runner-up is Insect Inc. here. It's a pattern matching game where you're trying to make these patterns out of these cards that are in the forest, and these pattern cards are thrown out in the forest area, and you're trying to collect different shaped patterns which represent different bugs you're collecting, and you do it with these cards, but after they're selected, they get flipped over and they kind of blend in. So it's a cool little pattern matching game with a little bit of memory. And it's one of the reasons I picked this one up. Try and help me with my memory a little bit. But this one is also very low in stock. I think there was less than a dozen in there today. When I started this, I made a list, and I knew very little about them. Just because I wanted to go into this blind. That's one I picked out in particular, just because of that, like I said, pattern of memory and it helping me move the cards with my hands and stuff. Along with cakes, because I knew my wife would like that one. But the rest of them were mainly is just, they were blind. They had a high number of stock. Let's see if we could, if they have a video on them. If they did, we'll make one. If not, whatever. So, all that being said, the runner-up is a cool little pattern making memory trick with some speed there. Yeah. Next runner-up is Haze Islands, and Haze Islands did not get a video for it because I haven't played it enough. To be honest with you, there are videos on the solo mode of this. This is one I actually bought from the store instead of getting an initial. Scott sending me them. I actually bought this one because the concept seemed kind of cool to me. It's only a deck of cards and a couple components. It's a boat and a couple cubes representing your crew, your pirates. But you got this doom counter which will do bad stuff on you as you're trying to go around and collect different symbols to fulfill rewards, different adventures to get a certain number of system symbols to defeat the Doom card. 32, I believe it was. I can't remember offhand. I've only played it a few times, but the cards interest me. They got these skull symbols on them, and there's different cards with different amounts on them, and you flip them over and spin them for some aspects of the games. And as the map grows, you slide these adventure cards under the map, and then as the game progresses, they get less valued as it goes on until it finally goes to open sea, and it's worth nothing. That's kind of cool too. The movement and all that. Like I said, there's other reviewers have done videos on this. I've mainly seen the solo game of it. One of the things I thought was cool is that your map deck is basically a timer for each round, but it's a shared timer. So you're flipping these cards over. They do multiple things, multiple actions, but you're flipping them over and then discard them. And once they run out, it's the end of the round. But you are also passing them your discard pile to the player on your right in a 2 or more player game. And it just, that combination of how the cards are used, like I said, it's only a deck and a couple components and a die. It's not a whole lot of game there component wise, but the card play, the multiple uses of the cards and all that really intrigued me. And like I said, how that discarded pile, that shared discard pile timer thing, it works. But many guys, who was it? I know Solo McLaughlin did one of these years ago when this was a print and play, and now it's, the company exists, made this one and Rokomon there, which was also a print and play, into a fully published game if you wanted it. Sarah McLaughlin did there, and I think it was not Rolling Solo, another guy. I can't remember the channel. But look on Board Game Geek, you'll find there's a couple reviewers that did it. Alright, next runner-up is Finish Time here. It's actually on sale today. Like I said, check the BGG Store earlier to make sure these guys were still in stock. The Yucca de Boni and Insect Extinct. It is a table hog. A lot of table presence there. It's big, real big. There's each player has a player board. There's 2 boards, 3 boards this size, and then 3 boards that are like this. It's a table hog, but it's a cool worker placement game by Freeman Freeze there. That you're basically splitting your time between work and play. It's a cool little game. It's a table hog, not little, like I said, but it's a cool game. So Surprise is still there. Freeman Freeze is one of my favorites. I played a lot of his games. He does good work from what I played with his. Wasn't real big on Power Grid. It was a little too dry for me. But other than that, was it Power Grid? Did he do Power Grid? Don't remember now. Yeah, this is a cool game. It's worker placement, which I like. There's you're chasing love and vacation time and work. You go on strike, and it's a balance between all that. It's not like your normal worker placement game where you're just collecting wheat and stone and stuff like that. Took the theme of it and integrated pretty well, I think. So that's another one. That's the final game for my runners-up. Alright, my final runner-up is the gear you get there. There's promos, which I'm too lazy to pull out, which I've got quite a few for Robinson Crusoe, one of my favorite games, from the BG Store, among others. This bag's really cool. Especially, I use a crutch now. It's got the straps. Got plenty of room for carrying bags. I've seen other games like that, other bags like this, but I don't know if to this detail. But who else has the Board Game Geek logo on it? And they got to see these cool card and chit holders. They're rubber, so they don't break and all that. It's got the logo in there for Board Game Geek, obviously. But these are cool. They got a bunch of other, like the collapsible chit trays and stuff like that, which I have not used the chit trays. But I've seen them. They look pretty interesting. Pretty cool. They just fold down flat, and then you could button them up together to form a bowl. And there's, of course, the geek bits. Like I said, Scott. Even if Scott hadn't sent me the ones for Quacks, I would have probably bought them because of my. I have hand issues, feeling stuff, and the chits were just a little too small, especially in that game, in the bag. So Scott sent me them, but even if he hadn't, he actually sent them because I came up and I was asking him like how thick and all that they were, because I was thinking about buying them, and I'm glad it did. It enhanced the game for me, just because of the physical thing for it. But it also looks cool, and the storage boxes, they're pretty cool. You could fit everything in there. You could put what cards you're using for that game and all that in there, and everything fits in its place. And I think there's 2 expansions now. It might be whatever expansions are out as of let's say last year, 2021. I have all of them, and they fit in the box with the geek bits and the base game and the containers. It all fits in the base game box. So that's cool, and I do enjoy that quite a bit. And I'm quite grateful that he sent them to me. It's cool of him that he did. Alright, moving on. Alright, we're finally into the list. So, this is the top 10 games that I have made a video for from the Board Game Geek Store. So, number 10 would be looping. And the reason number 10 is there's 3 types of games I really do not like to play. One of them is real-time games, you know, like I guess XCOM would be one. Temple Run's another one. One of them, you know, actual timed games. They're just too much for me. Another type is tower defense. It's just something I never really got in. Too repetitive, you know. But you know, maybe I'll play one day. But so far, none of that. Another one is I tend to bond shit on the party games, but it's any games that make you do silly things, and that's in here. Granted, this is for kids. This is a kid game. General says 6 to 6 plus player age group, so it is a children's game. And it's just not a game for me. You know, it fits in one of them categories where you gotta do silly things. But without that being said, it's a cool little game. To me, it would be a filler game, or like I said, when you play with kids. It's kind of like Skip-O or Uno, I guess, with the roller coasters instead of, you know, just numbers. So I would say it would lead up to Skip-O or Uno. You know, it's in that same vein. And the kids, I have played this with the kids across the street a few times. They enjoyed it. The one's never even been on a roller coaster. She's not tall enough for most of them, so you know, kind of got her interested in that. She, you know, soon she'll be able to. I've also played this with my niece and nephew who are in their 20s, and it didn't hit well with them too. So there's definitely an age group, you know, a group of ages that will enjoy this. I'm thinking, you know, you get it in the teens, probably not, but it is a fun little family game. You know, it's something I'm sure kids will enjoy, and parents and older brothers and sisters and cousins will enjoy playing with the kids. Okay, so that's number 10, looping. Number 9 was The Last Garden. The Last Garden is a worker placement game where you are the last woman on Earth and you're trying to recreate a garden from memory, using these robots that you call robotnists, and they're gathering stones and gems to try and recreate this garden. The theme sounds cool. The artwork just wasn't for me. It kind of grew on me. And the game itself, it's a good game. You know, don't get me wrong. It's just it's a worker placement auction thing, which worked out, or bidding thing, I should say, which it worked out better than I actually thought it would. And I like how the mechanics work in there. Some area control and stuff like that. I liked. It worked out well how they were all mashed together, which kind of interested me in the beginning of it. But overall, it wasn't a bad game. It's just, you know, it's not a great game for me. You know, there's not as much tension, I think, in the 2-player games that I've played. I should mention that most of these games have only been 2 players in my case. But even though it's not for me, I'm sure it's for somebody. So that was number 9, The Last Garden. Number 8, we have Pantery here. Alright, this is one of the 3 by Claude Leroy and Tom DeLahaye there, over at Cosmoludo? Yeah, Cosmoludo Games. It's the third of the first 3 that BGG has in store, but I think there's 6 in total. This was my least favorite of the 3. Not that because it's a bad game or nothing like that. It's just the other ones were a little more meatier for me. This one is quick though. You could play this really quick. Box says 10 minutes. I'm going to agree with that. Showing somebody for the first time, maybe 15. It's really not that hard of a game. And I like the 1, 2, 3 movement thing, point thing that they've used with the other 2 games and this one. And like I said, in what me thinks of the game, I like how it shrinks, and there's quite a few cool aspects to the game, but like I said, it was my least favorite of the 3 games. But it's not bad to be the last one of that group. Yeah. Number 7 was Rokomon, not Pokemon. Just in the box. This one's low, just because the other ones beat it out a little bit for some reason or other. It's none of these games are bad games. Which surprised me. I figured I'd get one that I didn't like for whatever reason, other than looping, because it's just not my type of game. But I figured I'd get one done, and I really haven't. But this is one of those other games from Exist that was a print and play, and then they brought into full production. It is about sort of like a two-player reenactment kind of 100 years of a history of one of the Japanese ninja clans. I'm sorry, samurai clans, not ninjas. And there's 6 mini games that lead up to the final battle that this represents. Each round represents one stage of this clan, and it's kind of like you're setting up for a battle in the first round, and then you're testing them out, and it goes over the 6 rounds, and whoever has the least amount of revenge tokens, I think they call them. I can't remember. Whoever basically won the most rounds wins the game. The book itself is cool. It has a lot of history on this clan, which I like. I like when you get that in a game. Kind of, especially when it's based on a historical idea there. And it's a quick game. You can play the whole game probably half hour, 45 minutes, maybe a little longer depending on players. But like I said, there's only 10 slots here. It went in number 7. So that is number 7. Number 6 is picking fruit. Fruit picking. I always get this mixed up. What is it? Where's the English one? There it is. Fruit picking by Korean Games, right? Yes. This is an entry level rundown game. It's basically what it is, with set collecting. I'm impressed with what came in the box. I said that in the review. You want to watch it. Review. I don't know if it's called what I think of the game. It's basically what all that me thinks is. It's just me thinks of the game. I don't consider a review. It's just my gut feeling of the game after playing it so many times. But fruit picking ends there. I was impressed with what came in the box. This is a game you could get for a younger child. I can't remember the exact age. Is 8. I would say probably so, maybe a little younger, depending on your kid. I don't know your kid. You figure it out. But they could keep this for a few years. It won't outgrow it as quickly as some of the other games that are meant for younger kids, like some book games that were out from Red Robin, Riding Hood, and all that. By I can't remember the name of them. Haba Games had a bunch of them. Where you get a certain age, you can outgrow them. This will be around for a while because it gets a little more complex, and there's different variants you can use at the end to adjust the complexity for younger children and older children. And I like the rundown mechanism in general. So check it out. Number 5 was Patios. I debated on putting this one lower. I enjoyed the game. All right, so Patios is basically there's a garden festival every year in Spain where people decorate their patios with flowers, and visitors come and see it and enjoy the patio. The flowers of the month of May. This was made by a Spanish designer, and there's interesting history. You know, a little bit of a history in the book, the rule book about the festival, the flower festival, the month of flowers. I like this game in general. There's one convoluted rule in there with the sundial as an action thing. I think it could have been done a little better, and but who am I never designed a game. But the rule book really hurt this one. This was one of the worst rule books I've read in a long time. It was tough to understand, and I don't want to get too negative on this, but they were showing pictures that were really small. You couldn't really get the jive from the picture or what they were trying to say anyway. The rule book was horrible. But the game itself, I enjoyed it quite a bit the more I played it. I did the designer rather. The Jesus, was that it? Javier. Javier. He contacted me afterwards and said, the rule book, not only in English but in German, is a little rough. And it's a shame because I think this deserved more attention than it got. This is a better game than the attention it got. It got overlooked because of that. Number one, people aren't going to try and figure it out like that. And it just didn't get a lot of hype. Like I seen a reviewer do a general review on it, bunched in with a couple others, because he even said there and there, it just didn't get the hype or the attention that is needed for him to do a long, in-depth review on it. And I don't blame him. These things are a lot of work, a lot of time. Yeah, but it's a shame. It really is a cool action selection or role selection, tile laying set collection game. So unfortunately the rulebook just didn't help it at all. So that's number 5. Yeah, that's number 5. Patios. Number 4 is Mana. This is the other one from Claude Leroy. I'm sorry. I would have said that wrong. This one is similar to chess in a sense, but it uses that 1, 2, 3 mechanism where you're using it as movement in this case, where you could go 1, 2, or 3 spots, depending on where this mana bird lands on different spots on the board, and dictates where you start off. It is like chess. I haven't really played a lot of these. I haven't played these enough to really get in depth on the strategy, but in sense, it is like chess, like that, where you're just trying to capture the king, and it's not called the king. I can't remember offhand. And you have the ninjas, samurais. I can't remember what they call the points, but they're basically your pawns and your queens and all that. You're just trying to save him or eliminate your opponents. I did enjoy this. This one surprised me because I'm not really. I like abstract games, but I don't really gravitate towards them, in general. But once I get playing them, I'm usually interested in them. So that was number 4, Mana. Number 3 is Cash, a game by Wolfgang Kramer and Jorgen P. Gurnu, sorry. Cash is, you're basically playing as a safecracker. You're trying to, you're retired safecrackers, and you and your opponents are trying to recreate the old days. You set up a room with a bunch of safes, and whoever cracks them, wins the game. Whoever cracks the most wins the game. This is a cool game. It's different than I was expecting it. There's a lot of cool combinations and stuff like that. Yeah, really surprised me. It's it's not a hard game. You're just matching symbols to open up safes, basically. But if you do combos of it, you get more points, and there's different ways to manipulate that. And you're always, there's always the back and forth with your opponents. You basically have a market out, and your opponents can see what you have. You see what they have. If you can remember stuff real well, you can actually probably count it. But there's some, there's a little bit of take that or screwage. I'm going to screw you over with that bank, and you can see, try and take one of the vault cards, because you can see they're building up to get that, or you can see they have enough because you don't have a hand limit. So you have as many cards in your hand as you want to fulfill these symbols. So they have enough for at least one of the safes out. I'm going to go for this one because it's higher points or whatever. So it was a cool, tight game, and it impressed me. I had a good time with this one. So that is number 3, Cash. Number 2 is Hokito. It was sort of like a checker variant, sort of. If you're stacking a lot, but as the board's filled up with the colors of either player. It's a one-on-one game, the abstract strategy game, where one player, you're basically trying to get as high as you can and get the most points in stacks or singles throughout the board by eliminating tokens, either your own or your opponent's. Sort of like checkers, like I said, if you're kinging a lot. But as you're moving the tokens around, spaces on the board open up and they're no longer used. You can only jump from one token onto another. So the board shrinks, and there's a lot of trying to knock out your opponent's higher points, or because they're not only points at the end of the game, they're also your movement. So you limit their movement. And with the moving of the tokens, there's also, purposefully limiting the movement of your opponent to try and block them from moving certain stacks or singles. It's a cool game, and like I said, with the 1, 2, 3 concept that they used in the other 3, I've played this the most out of the other 3, and a lot of people have enjoyed this. From younger players to older players. This is my number 2, Hokito. Alright, and finally, my number 1 board games that I did a video on from the BGG Store that is in stock right now is Cakes. It's a simple game. It's like Rhino Heroes, but everybody has a tower instead of just one. And you're building cakes instead of a tower with a rhino. It's a kid's game. It's a party game, basically, for kids. It's a silly game. And the reason it's number 1 is because it's the one I've had the most fun with whoever I played with. It's just something about, dexterity games that people love. Everybody's going to fail. Things are going to drop or not go your way or fly off the table. And it always makes for a good time. This one, I enjoyed. Like I said, it is a lot like Rhino Hero, where you're stacking, trying to make a 10-tier cake. But it's like Rhino Hero only has the one tower where you're moving the rhino up. This one everybody has their own tower, and adults could play it in their hands, kids could play it on the table, whichever you choose. And, it's that balancing act of trying to get the cards not to topple over. So that is the number 1 game that I filmed from the BGG Store. Alright, so that is my obligatory top 10 list of things I did on the channel, or the month, the year, whatever you want to call it. All of these games can be found in the BGG Store. with the exception of Quacks and the crew, but the Geek Picks are there for them, along with the accessories and promos and all sorts of fun stuff there. So if it is something you are interested in, please go check it out. It's a cool store. Maybe you'll find something there that will interest you that you would not find anywhere else, because the games there are pretty limited. So get gaming, have fun. See you next time. Thanks for watching. Keep your head up and get me out. If you want to support BGG, go to their website and become a user. Or you could go to the Board Game Geek YouTube website and like their video. Click subscribe. And don't forget to hit that bell notification button. Or you could go to the Board Game Geek Store, where you'll find board games, promos, accessories, and more. All I am saying is Gift's got some cash.